Although Vaan planned to move part of Pangaea to the Dark Sea Abyss territory, he was still far from achieving his goal. Moving the Black Pillar already consumed 30% of his soul force. He simply didn't have anywhere near enough soul force to move 3 empires over such a great distance to reach the Dark Sea Abyss territory. It didn't seem possible even if he reached the peak of rank 6 divine being. Of course, he knew better than to make a plan that wouldn't work. There was another way to move such huge lands to the Dark Sea Abyss territory by carrying them within his heaven-swallowing space. Naturally, the capacity of his heaven-swallowing space was only comparable to a city at the moment. However, it could expand indefinitely if there was a constant supply of mana. Even Vaan did not know how big his heaven-swallowing space could grow, he only knew his cultivation didn't limit its growth. Since you have already thought it through, I won't try to dissuade you. However, I want to remind you of the dangers of the Dark Sea Abyss territory, you mustn't underestimate them, Sir Vaan, Hecate reminded. Vaan calmly nodded, thank you for your concern, Lady Hecate. Since that's out of the way, there's not much left for me to say. I will find you in the next few days to record your oath and put the great devils at ease. I will also use that chance to hand you a few things you might find useful, Sir Vaan, Hecate stated. Hand me a few useful things? By the sound of it, I am not following you back to your territory yet, Lady Hecate? Vaan asked. Not yet, Sir Vaan, Hecate shook her head and said, I'm afraid the great devils will get jumpy if they hear news of you setting foot into Gehenna before being reassured of your oath to become one of them. After I deliver the items and record your oath, I have to attend to other matters and won't be free for some time as well. That's why I cannot bring you back with me yet, Sir Vaan. Furthermore, you haven't settled all your matters in Pangaea yet, have you? Hecate asked. I'm afraid not. It may take up to several months, actually, Vaan admitted before commenting, though, I must confess the great devils are not how I imagine them to be. While the great devils might seem high and mighty to most people of Pangaea, they are, in fact, quite the scaredy cats, Hecate smiled. Since anyone in chaos could die for no rhyme or reason, most beings tend to live cautiously. This is especially true the longer they live. That's why, while it might seem unfair to you, this is just how the great devils are. They didn't survive to this age by being the strongest. They became the strongest by surviving. Normally, they wouldn't tolerate anything that could threaten their existence. So, you should understand how much of a concession they are making to let you live. They are doing something different from their usual way of handling things, no doubt, thanks to my efforts in persuading them, Hecate claimed. And I am grateful for that, Lady Hecate, Vaan sincerely expressed. Hecate nodded before mentioning, on another topic, I trust my dream catchers have been protecting you responsibly, Sir Vaan. You haven't been bullying them too much, have you? Why do you assume that I would bully them, Lady Hecate? Am I such a bad character in your mind? Vaan replied with a wry smile. That's hard to say. You do seem like a wolf in sheep's clothing, Sir Vaan, Hecate said playfully before sighing with exaggeration, since you claim to be innocent, I wonder what could have changed my dream catchers in these past several days. They used to be such honest and well-behaved children, crowding around me at every chance they got. But now, they are trying to get away from me as if they are feeling guilty over something. What kind of secrets are they trying to hide from me, I wonder? Hecate uttered. Considering it was Ninth Dream's spiritual world, her presence could be vaguely sensed in the area. However, after Hecate spoke, Ninth Dream's presence quickly disappeared. Do you see what I mean, Sir Vaan? Such a dishonest child, Hecate shook her head with a seemingly helpless yet playful look. Surely, you must have some ideas regarding their change? Well. Vaan briefly glanced in a particular direction and smiled. Although nothing seemed to be in that particular direction, Ninth Dream's spiritual avatar was actually hiding behind her cloak of invisibility in that direction. As such, Ninth Dream was greatly astonished when Vaan glanced in her direction. Was it just a coincidence? Ninth Dream doubted. However, she suddenly had a bad feeling. They might have been secretly peeking into other people's private affairs and picking up new knowledge about the naughty stuff that men and women do, Lady Hecate, Vaan said with amusement. Boom. Ninth Dream was immediately thunderstruck after she overheard Vaan's words. It was only now that she realized Vaan had been fully aware of her voyeurism. She was so flustered she didn't know what to do. She couldn't figure out how Vaan knew about her peeking and masturbation. However, she didn't want to think about it, she didn't dare to think about it. Ninth Dream's cheeks quickly turned red-hot with embarrassment and shame. What do I do? Sir Vaan actually knows about my secret deeds, and now, Lady Hecate knows about it, too. How can I ever face them in the future? How can I ever show my face again? Ninth Dream lamented with regret. The consequences of having her secret exposed were unimaginable. How on earth did Sir Vaan know about my peeking? Could he actually see through my invisibility spell? If that was true, then, wouldn't that mean he has also seen me? Ninth Dream became even more flustered as her thoughts traveled along those lines. She didn't dare to finish her train of thought. After Vaan ended his spiritual meeting with Hecate, his main consciousness returned to his body, and he regained awareness of reality. Although he was still holding Ninth Dream's delicate hand, it was no longer cool to the touch. On the contrary, it was very warm as Ninth Dream herself had turned red like a tomato. However, no movement came from her body, she was frozen still like a stone statue. Only a whirlpool of chaotic thoughts and emotions raged within the windows of her unfocused gaze. Despite standing face to face, Ninth Dream subconsciously avoided meeting Vaan's gaze. She did not dare look into his eyes. In fact, Ninth Dream wanted nothing more than to disappear on the spot. However, she wasn't sure what to say to Vaan in order to escape his clutches. Her heart was palpitating with anxiety just by thinking about it. Even though she knew she had to say something and break away, she couldn't form any words on the tips of her tongue. She wasn't in the right state of mind to think or act. Suddenly, Vaan rubbed Ninth Dream's soft hand with his thumb, and an electrifying sensation ran down her body in that instant, causing her to shiver. At the same time, Ninth Dream broke out of her dilemma as she couldn't help but look at Vaan in shock. "Are you alright, Lady Ninth Dream? Was the spiritual connection draining? It looks like your body is cooking up a fever." Vaan feigned concern as he gauged the temperature of her forehead with his free hand, increasing their skinship. Ninth Dream felt another rush of that electrifying sensation upon contact, and her heart skipped a beat. In the same instant, she also broke away from Vaan in a jittery state. She felt shy and embarrassed, yet strangely enough, she didn't hate the feeling as much as before. It made her confused and lost. Was she broken? "Ahem, I am alright. I appreciate your concern, Sir Vaan, but there's nothing to worry about," Ninth Dream replied after a slight cough. Once she started speaking, she found it easier to continue. Sir Vaan, about what you said to Lady Hecate. The secret peeking and naughty knowledge stuff. Does that mean you, have you?" Ninth Dream bit her lip as she found it difficult to finish her question. Did I mention something like that to Lady Hecate? How come I don't remember? You'll have to speak more clearly if you wish to help me remember, Lady Ninth Dream, Vaan softly chuckled. Ninth Dream opened her mouth, but no words came out. She could only stare at Vaan with a dumb look. Although she wanted to know if he had seen her bare body, it wasn't exactly something she could just straight up ask him. Furthermore, after hearing his reply, she found it more difficult to press the issue. Despite suspecting Vaan was deflecting the topic, Ninth Dream truly wanted to believe that he had forgotten everything. However, she was only seeking comfort if she tried to convince herself that was the case. "If you don't remember, then don't worry about it." Ninth Dream bit her lips as she reined in her curiosity. Shortly after, she said, "Since there's no further business, I will return to my post." "Alright," Vaan nodded with a smile. Right then, he watched Ninth Dream disappear before his eyes as if a misty or cloud-like spatial distortion swallowed her body whole. During the past several days, he had seen the three Dreamcatchers use their invisibility spell so many times that he had already understood how it worked like the back of his hand. The Dreamcatcher's invisibility spell was not as simple as a deflection of light. In fact, it had nothing to do with manipulating light. After all, what they used was dream power. What Ninth Dream actually did to become invisible was create a dreamscape copy of the area and superimpose it, hiding her true self between the virtual and the reality. As such, people outside the affected dream area couldn't see her unless they could see through her dream power like him. Nevertheless, after Ninth Dream hid inside her dream field, she suddenly paused when she noticed Vaan's eyes were still on her. After checking that her invisibility spell was functioning, she moved a bit. However, Vaan's gaze also followed her movement. Ninth Dream was immediately startled by his eye movement. After a short pause, she found this gaze following her when she moved again. She could doubt all she wanted, but the undeniable truth was before her, it was no mere coincidence. Could it be that you can see me, Sir Vaan? Ninth Dream asked in a tiny, small voice. "No, I definitely can't see you, Lady Ninth Dream." "What makes you think that?" Vaan answered mischievously. Ninth Dream immediately felt like her world was collapsing. She was absolutely mortified. If her invisibility spell was actually working as intended, then she shouldn't be seen or heard by anyone outside of her dream field. As such, the look of horror on her face when Vaan replied to her question was quite evident. Not only could he hear her, but he could also see her. Swoosh. When the truth was laid bare to her, Ninth Dream failed to cope with the situation. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment and shame, causing her to immediately flee the scene in a panic. Ha ha ha. Vaan chuckled with amusement. Although he could have continued to tease Ninth Dream and the other two, he wouldn't want their innocent hearts completely crushed by the accumulated guilt and shame. As such, he had to know when to stop. Now then, what should I be doing? Vaan thoughtfully pondered as his gaze swept the surrounding terrain. Although he had spent several days of dual cultivation in the area, the subterranean region had always remained a mystery. Even the witches and dragons failed to learn anything despite scouting the underground world a few times. All they knew was the subterranean region was a single enclosed space without any connecting passageways leading to other large caves and pocket spaces. In other words, the huge underground space was completely dug out by the earth spirit worm. It was not formed by any other elements. Previous chapter. Since the vast underground space didn't originally exist without the earth spirit worm, it must have been lured or attracted by something that was only found in this particular subterranean region. Of course, the pure mana was the obvious conclusion. However, it probably wasn't the only attraction the subterranean region offered the earth spirit worm. After all, while the earth spirit worm was a fourth-dimensional creature, it was still a being of earth in affinity. The higher quality earthly minerals in the pure mana-filled subterranean region would undoubtedly be more appealing than the moon's ordinary soil. Vaan believed that was why there wasn't a single trace of metal in the underground space. The earth spirit worm must have consumed all the metal deposits within the area. The divine rank stalactite milk could have also been a byproduct of it. Shortly after Vaan moved toward the nearest earthen wall, his fourth-dimensional sense spread out and sank deep into the earth. He searched beyond the open space for potential mineral deposits that could be mined. At the same time, he also tried to see if his senses could reach the surface to determine his location in chaos. Unfortunately, he failed to obtain satisfactory results from his scan. The range of his senses did not reach the surface, the underground space was too deep underneath the earth. That said, Vaan believed the underground space was still somewhere within Gehenna. After all, the distance between the moon and planet Pangaea wasn't that great. The moon's dimensional crack connecting to a different star realm in chaos wouldn't make sense. Among the 9 territories of Gehenna, which one could have such pure mana hidden underneath its earth? Vaan pondered. Since he was free from his women, he had time to look into this matter. He figured it was something worth investigating. After all, it was most likely one of 2 uninhabitable territories. Considering that the great devils have ruled their territories for thousands to several 100,000 years, they should be expected to know their land like the back of their hand. As such, if they had discovered such pure mana underneath their land, they would have monopolized it long ago. However, the pure mana in the underground space seemed virtually untouched. Thus, the underground space was unlikely to be part of the 7 habitable territories. On the other hand, the Dark Sea Abyss territory and the Purple Flame territory were places where even the great devils rarely visited, let alone explored. No matter which one the underground space belonged to, it would still work in his favor. As Vaan strolled along the earthen wall, scanning for rare metal deposits, a senior red dragon named Caldrian soon approached. Supreme Leader, we have a problem, Caldrian informed. What's the matter? Vaan calmly asked. We are running low on rare metal to continue the next stage of the moon colony reconstruction project. Furthermore, we won't be able to rely on the clan to restock our inventory of rare metal, Caldrian stated. Vaan calmly nodded with understanding. He knew it was only a matter of time before they ran out of salvageable rare metal they could use to repair the moon colony. After all, the original moon colony was made of a special alloy comparable to semi-divine to divine rank metals. Even if the moon was rich in iron, the quality was too inferior to be used for the moon colony. Such weak metal would compromise the moon colony's structural integrity. Given the magnitude of the ongoing and future projects, Pangaea wouldn't have enough resources to support the demand, it was lacking in quantity and quality of rare metals. If they didn't want the ongoing construction projects to be delayed, they had to secure new mineral deposits of rare metals from elsewhere. Fortunately, Vaan knew just where to procure said resources. The asteroid field was the most obvious place to acquire an unimaginable amount of rare metal. After all, it was the ruins of an ancient civilization. Not only was rare metal abundant in such a place, but it most likely contained the same special alloy used in the moon colony. However, he was the only one presently capable of fetching the resources from the asteroid field. Their other option was to search for rare metal deposits in the unknown subterranean region. Fortunately, Vaan just found several rare metal deposits during his earlier sweep. There's a large deposit of rare metal ores just 7 kilometers behind this wall. I will help you clear the path to it, but it will be up to you to organize a team to procure the resource, Vaan mentioned. Shortly after, he placed his hand on the earthen wall and injected spatial power into it. Shing dash. In that instant, countless threads of dark light flashed across the earthen wall like flying metal wires, easily slicing through everything within their path as they rushed toward the hidden rare metal deposit. Within mere moments, huge layers of the earthen wall were instantly reduced to finely cut slabs of rocks like bricks. Shortly after, they all sank into a big spatial portal underneath and disappeared into Vaan's heaven-swallowing space, leaving behind an open space that stretched for 7 kilometers. Caldrian was awed after witnessing the casual manner in which Vaan cleared the path to the rare metal deposit, which was wide enough for 3 adult dragons to enter side by side without feeling cramped. The feat itself wasn't anything noteworthy to a transcendent rank red dragon, but the casual execution yet skillful control of power was like a work of art. It was inspiring to observe. Go organize the mining team now, Vaan urged, before adding, I'll give you a list of locations for the other rare metal deposits in the region later. Yes, Supreme Leader. Caldrian answered staunchly. After Caldrian left to recruit miners from the dragon group in the new moon colony, Vaan entered the new path to continue his investigation. He might learn something if he studied the softer soil area. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Vaan traveled 5 kilometers into the 7-kilometer-long passage before opening up a new inclined path that stretched for another 34 kilometers, connecting to a different rare metal deposit. However, he didn't reach the second rare metal deposit before opening up another inclined pathway leading up to the next closest mineral deposit. He repeated the same step until he linked up a few dozen mineral deposits and was 500 kilometers closer to the surface. There, he finally discovered some soil among the endless layers of rocks. Ding! Analyzing soil composition. Soil composition analysis completed. Soil composition, 32.67% limestone powder, 29.51% carbon dust, 17.87% humus, 6.63%. As expected, there's a fair bit of humus, Vaan mused. Even without confirming the soil composition, he had already guessed there would be a substantial amount of humus in the soil after scanning the soil-to-rock formation in the area. After all, the soil-to-rock formation somewhat resembled a neural network, which he figured was most likely created by plant roots. Humus was the decomposed organic matter of plants. However, considering the sheer size of the soil-to-rock formation, the roots of the plant life had to be equally enormous, and there was no such large plant in Vaan's knowledge. Even the roots of the world tree that used to exist in the Verdantwood Kingdom would have paled in comparison by at least 100-fold. If a plant with such enormous roots existed in Pangaea, it would be easily seen from anywhere on the continent. After all, such a colossal plant life would have been comparable to the fabled tree of origin that was said to pierce into the heavens. Such an enormous tree had only ever been recorded in stories and never seen or proven to exist, at least, not in Pangaea. There wasn't a single existing plant in Pangaea that could even come close to such size with its roots. The remnants of colossal plant. The Purple Flame territory was said to be a once flourishing green planet filled with incredible magical plants before calamity descended on its land. Could this place be part of the Purple Flame territory? Vaan wondered. Although it was too early to draw a conclusion with a single discovery, he was already leaning toward the Purple Flame territory. After all, the Dark Sea Abyss territory was a toxic water planet like Pangaea. It was hard to imagine any plant life thriving to unimaginable sizes in such a harsh environment, even if they most likely existed in that vast unknown sea. Furthermore, Vaan learned that the magical plants that used to grow in the Purple Flame territory even attracted the Skymagia Star Kingdom. If the Purple Flame territory possessed such pure mana within its soil, it would be easy to understand why its magical plants could grow so well. Purple Flame territory, huh? I hope this subterranean region is part of the Purple Flame territory, Vaan desired. Considering he intended to become the great devil of the Dark Sea Abyss territory, all its resources practically already belonged to him. On the other hand, the Purple Flame territory was still ownerless. Thus, if the subterranean region was connected to the Purple Flame territory, he could continue to enjoy its valuable resources without the other great devil's knowledge. Why wouldn't he want to enjoy the resources of two territories without competition? I should end the investigation here, Vaan suddenly decided. If the subterranean region were truly connected to the Purple Flame territory, nothing good would come from getting too close to the surface. After all, it was still a place that even the great devils considered dangerous. It would be disastrous if he attracted the fiery evil spirits or the eternal purple flame to the underground space. It would be even worse if it allowed the great devils to learn about the pure mana in the deep subterranean region. Although it is good to know where the underground space is located, I don't absolutely have to know, especially if the risks outweigh the benefits, Vaan mused. It was an eventful break, but he should return to the others. Solana was still looking forward to their dual cultivation, so he shouldn't keep her waiting. Otherwise, she would miss her chance once he met Hecate. On that note, he was quite curious about what she had to give him. Meanwhile, Ninth Dream fled without a clear direction in mind but somehow found herself in front of Fourth Dream and Seventh Dream. Perhaps she subconsciously wanted to share the grave news with her sisters. Nevertheless, Ninth Dream quickly noticed Fourth Dream was giving her a weird look. Moreover, she was familiar with that look since she had seen it on Seventh Dream before when she told her about masturbation. As such, it only took a moment for Ninth Dream to realize that Fourth Dream must have also learned about masturbation. Furthermore, Fourth Dream must have also watched a live demonstration of it. Ninth Dream couldn't help but direct a blaming look at Seventh Dream, who quickly averted her gaze after realizing she had been found out. However, before Ninth Dream could complain, Fourth Dream criticized her with a frown. Why are you back already, Ninth Sister? Your shift shouldn't have ended yet. I don't want to be on duty right now. Please take over my shift, Fourth Sister. I will make up for it next. Ninth Dream pleaded. Her face quickly reddened as Vaan's mischievous smile flashed across her mind. Fourth Dream suddenly had a sense of déjà vu as she recalled such a situation. It was also precisely because they had been over it before that she felt displeased with Ninth Dream. How could Ninth Dream still know any shame and embarrassment when she could prune her flower garden while spying on other people's private affairs? You can't be willful forever, Ninth Sister. Go back and complete your shift now, Fourth Dream instructed with a deep frown, adding, I can't believe you left Sir Vaan on his own without any of us around. I don't care. I'm not going back today. Someone, please take over just for today. Ninth Dream stubbornly requested, adding, I'm not feeling well right now. Stop being a child. Why are you being like this? Do I have to force you to go back? Fourth Dream scolded, feeling a little mad with her behavior. Humph, you can try, Fourth Sister, Ninth Dream pouted, feeling slightly angry too. She didn't understand why Fourth Dream was suddenly acting so strict. If Fourth Dream was unwilling to take over her shift, so be it. After all, even if Fourth Dream didn't want it, Seventh Dream definitely did. Nevertheless, Fourth Dream suddenly didn't know what to say when Ninth Dream challenged her. She remembered that her cultivation was one stage lower than hers. As such, she wouldn't be able to beat her. If she didn't quickly increase her cultivation, wouldn't she be bullied by her younger sisters in the future? Where would her dignity as the fourth elder sister be? Suddenly, Fourth Dream didn't find it so bad to take over Ninth Dream's shift. Although she was still mad since Sir Vaan's whereabouts were currently unknown, she really should try this thing called masturbation and catch up on her cultivation. Never mind. I will look for Sir Vaan and guard him, Fourth Dream stated. There's no need to trouble you, Fourth Sister, Seventh Dream shook her head and volunteered, I can do it. I insist, Seventh Sister, Fourth Dream firmly stated. All right then, if you insist. Seventh Dream timidly conceded after seeing her fierce yet determined gaze. Shortly after, Seventh Dream and Ninth Dream watched Fourth Dream depart in search of Vaan. Humph, smelly fourth sister, ninth dream snorted with a resentful look, muttering, I was going to share the grave news with you. But since you are so mean and scolded me, you can suffer with us. Huh? What grave news are you talking about, ninth sister? With astonishment, ninth dream glanced left and right, confirming fourth dream was gone before she whispered into seventh dream's ears. The moment seventh dream heard the so-called grave news, her whole body instantly froze, in disbelief. However, her expression soon twisted into shock and outrage. What did you just say? Sir Vaan can really MF. Gehenna, Shadow Cage territory. The Shadow Realm, the Dark Side, the Lightless Domain, the Land of the Dead, and the Bone Graveyard. The ninth and furthest planet from the Gehenna star has been known by many names since people learned it belonged to great devil Thanatos, the realm lord of Gehenna. Although it was considered one of the 7 habitable territories, it was no different from the uninhabitable territories. After all, only Thanatos and his army of the dead resided there. It was not a place for the living. The Shadow Cage territory itself did not have any atmospheric protection to provide living beings with breathable air. It was just a giant space rock in simple terms. However, it was extremely rich in mana, far more than the other 8 territories combined, due to the existence of the Sea of Darkness, which devoured everything like an insatiable black hole, be it gas, light, or anything else. No one really knew where everything went once they were devoured. However, it was undeniable that the Sea of Darkness, the Shadow Cage territory, possessed an unimaginable amount of magical energy. Nevertheless, unless one learned how to breathe in the magical elements of the Shadow Cage territory and convert them into sustenance for the body, like spirits, it was not a place for anyone to live. That said, even if people knew how to breathe in the magical elements, it was not a place anyone would dare choose to live either. After all, while it wasn't as dangerous as the Purple Flame territory or the Dark Sea Abyss territory, it was undoubtedly the most dreadful place to be for living beings born of flesh and blood. It was the innate fear of living beings to instinctively avoid places of death, let alone one with such an unfathomable amount of death energy like the Shadow Cage territory. However, today, the Shadow Cage territory received a rare visitor, Great Devil Helkan. After passing through a great teleportation gate and setting foot on the dark, barren land filled with wooden stakes and stone graves, Helkan took a deep breath before heading to Thanatos' dwelling place, the Sea of Darkness. Swish. The deathly silent yet serene land was quickly disturbed by Helkan's footsteps, causing ghastly sharp winds to ravage the region like angry howls of the sleeping spirits, undead, and all that was unholy. Black mists also seeped out of the ground like steam and accumulated in the area. The howling winds and gathering black mists affected only Helkan's surroundings. Further down the path, bone soldiers and rotten corpses clawed their way out of the earth. However, as Helkan drew closer with his intimidating divine pressure, the bone soldiers and rotten corpses crawled back into their graves, and the vengeful spirits and mindless specters faded from sight. Helkan scoffed at their cowardly retreat, thinking these unholy beings had at least the minimum intelligence to know their place. In truth, Thanatos had commanded them to clear the way. Otherwise, they would have swarmed Helkan to death or get destroyed trying to do so. Unless Helkan were adept in soul attacks, they would be practically immortal due to the endless death energy permeating the land. As Helkan drew closer to the dwelling place of Thanatos, he recalled the old legends about the Shadow Cage territory. Supposedly, the land used to thrive with life in the far ancient past. Hundreds of mortal kingdoms spread across its land. However, war broke out, and countless dynasties experienced their rise and fall throughout the full course of its history. Eventually, the endless ravages of war consumed everything, leaving behind nothing but ruins. The accumulated death and hatred during that period cultivated the greatest evil known to the world then. Nevertheless, it was quickly sealed away in the deepest depths of the Sea of Darkness and has remained a mystery since then. Even the truth behind the formation of the Sea of Darkness was not clear. There were also old rumors that the previous generation of the 7 great devils, the 7 deadly sins, obtained their divine powers from the evil sealed away in the Sea of Darkness. However, Helkan couldn't figure out how much of those rumors were actually true. Perhaps Thanatos isn't the real reason why everyone naturally dreads and fears the Shadow Cage territory, but the source of evil sealed away in the depths of the Sea of Darkness. Helkan thought. He could feel his soul quivering as he drew closer to the Sea of Darkness. The Sea of Darkness was only like a black hole due to its insatiable appetite to swallow anything and everything. In terms of its devouring ability and appearance, it shared no resemblance to a black hole whatsoever. In reality, the Sea of Darkness was more like a vacuum of cosmic proportions. It was just a whirlpool of endless black mist, and everything caught within its extensive net. Although it could pull things from beyond the Gehenna star realm, its devouring force was actually very weak. Even rank 3 aerial beings flying over the center of its opening could resist its tugging power. However, that made it all the more terrifying and eerie. Its weak tug was like a soft call to lure beings into its seemingly bottomless dark abyss. No one knew if their lives would just be silently robbed away in its calming pull, but it was the natural fear and assumption that steered them far away from it. And yet, Thanatos made his dwelling abode float right above its central opening. That wasn't something anyone else, in their mind, could do, let alone sleep in it for most of their days. It was no different from sleeping next to death. If Thanatos weren't just made of bones, people would definitely say he had nerves or balls of steel. Lord Thanatos, Helkan requests an audience, Helkan announced after stopping at the cliff's edge before the Sea of Darkness. The floating abode was silent for several breaths before the endless black mist in the Sea of Darkness rumbled and surged out, forming a black bridge connecting it to the cliff's edge. Helkan glanced at the dark abyss of the Sea of Darkness with dread and fear before looking back up at the floating abode. He felt very conflicted about crossing the Black Bridge. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like he had much of a choice if he wanted to meet Thanatos. Fuck, Helkan gritted his teeth. The Black Bridge was completely constructed with Thanatos's death power. While Helkan could choose to fly across, he would be disrespecting Thanatos if he refused his invitation gesture. On the other hand, if he did use the Black Bridge to cross, he would be completely putting his life in Thanatos's hands. Although he wouldn't plunge into the sea of darkness if the Black Bridge suddenly dispersed during his crossing, it would still give him a great scare. After all, it had taken him great courage to come to the Shadow Cage territory to see Thanatos. Now that he was actually at the Sea of Darkness, he could feel his soul quivering when he gazed into its bottomless whirlpool of black mist. Whatever was sealed down there was more frightening than he had imagined. Nevertheless, after some hesitation, Helkan eventually crossed the Black Bridge. Swoosh! The entrance of the floating abode was shortly opened, and a gush of deathly energy rushed out. It swept past Helkan, sticking close to the ground like fog, before drifting into the Sea of Darkness. Inside the floating abode, Helkan found Thanatos seated on a bone throne. Apart from that, there was nothing else of interest inside the single-room abode if he were to ignore the bottomless presence of the Death Law. The Great Devil Conference only just ended. Why have you come and disturbed my rest, Helkan? Thanatos asked expressionlessly. Are you really fine with letting Vaan Rafna live and become one of us, Lord Thanatos? Helkan asked. You must know that you still hold absolute power. As long as you make a move, Vaan Rafna will undoubtedly die. However, if you leave him be, he will absolutely surpass you and rob your position as the Realm Lord of Gehenna. So, let me ask you again. Are you really fine with that, Lord Thanatos? Helkan pressed. After a moment of silence, Thanatos indifferently asked, do you know what you are saying right now, Hel? The Great Devil Conference has already concluded, and you have also agreed with the collective decision to give Vaan Rafna a chance to become one of us. Yet, here you are, trying to borrow my hands to kill him, which goes against that very decision. If you can't provide a satisfactory explanation for this, then you better be prepared to accept the punishment for violating our unanimous decision, Thanatos strictly stated. As the room's temperature dropped, Helkan immediately felt a chill. He suddenly felt that visiting the Shadow Cage territory and trying to sway Thanatos's mind had been a mistake. If he really couldn't provide a satisfactory explanation, Thanatos might just execute him on the spot. Helkan sweated before saying, I only agreed so we could end the Great Devil Conference early. It was clear that everyone favored making Vaan Rafna one of us. So, if I hadn't done so, it would have dragged on for months or even years. How can I give that Great Devil Killer that much time to grow? So, if we really drag the Great Devil Conference on for months or years, Vaan Rafna might have grown to a level where he didn't need to be wary of us and make concessions for everyone's benefits. Soul Masters are unpredictable, so he might really grow that quickly. Thus, in that regard, everyone should thank me for ending the Great Devil Conference early. However, I still believe Vaan Rafna has to be killed. After all, humans are insatiably greedy. Even if he becomes one of us, his talent dictates he will greatly surpass us in the future. If we let that day come, we will not remain our peer, we will be his servants or even slaves. All the resources we currently enjoy might even be monopolized by him and those he favors. Helkan firmly stated, tell me, Lord Thanatos, is that what you want? Hecate painted a pretty picture with her words, but in truth, our authorities will be slowly chipped away if we follow through with her idea. Think about it. Right now, Vaan Rafna is still a nobody we can easily crush. Yet, we have to be mindful of him and suck up to him. Even when he becomes worthy of being our peer, we will still have to be mindful of him and suck up to him. Then, once he surpasses us, we still have to do just that. How is that any way for a great devil to live? That is slave mentality. Helkan barked. Silence shortly filled the room. After several breaths, Helkan continued, no matter how great of a potential Hecate said the Soul Master has, that is still the word of an outsider. We are getting swayed by an outsider to let another outsider take away our authority and resources. Do you think that is acceptable, Lord Thanatos? Maybe in the future, all our authority over Gehenna will be in the hands of these outsiders. None of them will belong to us, original residents of Gehenna. Do you see it, Lord Thanatos? Even if Vaan Rafna doesn't kill us when he spreads his wings, he will still rob us of our home and resources for his people. How long must we endure before we see the promising future Hecate described? Helkan asked his final question, feeling slightly breathless. He spoke whatever truth and bullshit came to mind and eventually ran out of things to say. He could only hope that all of that was considered a satisfactory explanation. You've made a valid point. Thus, I will spare you from the death penalty, at least. However, we have already made a decision, so I will not change my mind. Leave now, Helkan. I pursue your violation of the agreement today, Thanatos coolly stated. Helkan's eyes quickly clouded with gloom, disappointment, and helplessness. I understand, Lord Thanatos, Helkan replied faintly. Even after he said so much, Thanatos wasn't moved in the least. He had truly made a wasted trip. Shortly after Helkan left, silence and darkness returned to Thanatos's abode, followed by a soft sigh within. Within the solitude of darkness, Thanatos did not resume his slumber after Helkan left. Instead, he sank into deep thoughts. The things Helkan told him weren't things he had never thought about. After all, he was the Realm Lord of Gehenna. He wielded the greatest authority in Gehenna and enjoyed the best resources it had to offer. Naturally, even he would feel reluctant to surrender them to someone else. However, his death law wasn't an omnipotent power. While it seemed like an invincible power, the instant death spell had several weaknesses. It did not work on those who cultivated its opposing law, those with stronger soul force, or those with imperishable souls. It is rumored that soul masters are born with special soul constitutions because they have very impressive past lives, and the speed of their growths are directly related to the height of their past life selves. Thanatos recalled. If there were any chance that the soul master was at least a true god-level being in any of his past lives, his soul would undoubtedly carry the everlasting trait, making it imperishable. The death law did not work on an imperishable soul. Thanatos could not grant death to something that was immune to death. Of course, he could still kill the mortal body of the soul master. However, there was no point if he couldn't slay the soul. After all, if he failed, he would only be making enemies with a true god-level being, and his days would be numbered. There was also a chance that his instant death spell would backfire by triggering the soul master's imperishable soul to awaken his past life memories completely. The law comprehension of a true god-level being or above was far beyond his reach. After all, what kind of an existence was a true god-level being? It was a rank 11 divinity. As such, Thanatos would never take the risk of offending a soul master, or even worse, an extremely talented soul master. Nevertheless, the potential risk wasn't the main reason why he chose to stand against the soul master. Offending a soul master is never a good thing, but it doesn't seem to be the source of my dread. No, my dread stems from the name Vaan Rafna. No, that is not exactly correct, either. Thanatos thought, feeling puzzled. For an undead being who cultivated the death law over the sea of darkness, there shouldn't be anything that could instill such fear into him. And yet, there was something. However, Thanatos couldn't quite understand it himself. He could feel great fear from the depths of his soul when he thought of the name Vaan Rafna, but at the same time, it didn't seem to be the case either. That was most puzzling. After pondering for a while, Thanatos realized it wasn't the exact name that induced such fear in him but just the surname. Rafna. That is it, that is the source of my unease. My very soul trembles at its name. But as to why, I do not know. Was there someone in the past that also carried such a surname? Thanatos frowned. No matter how hard he pondered, he couldn't recall anyone with the surname Rafna from the past. How could he not possess memories of someone with such a fear-inducing surname? Perhaps it is my instincts telling me that offending people with the surname Rafna will be my doom. Yes, this seems to be the most logical reasoning. Thanatos thought. Meanwhile, Helkan left the Shadow Cage territory and returned to his Titanfall territory, the land of Titans. The Titanfall territory was the largest and highest Earth-based planet in Gehenna. It was a giant rock planet, rich in Earth minerals but poor plant life. Geostorms constantly plague its surface, creating spikes in its already high gravity level. It wasn't an easy place to live unless one was part of the powerful Titan clan. As such, the Titanfall territory's population was predominantly Titans, while the other earthly races existed in small fractions. Welcome back, my king Dash. Helkan ignored the welcome of his Titan subjects as he headed for Titanfall Castle and buried himself inside the council room, where a large star map could be found. Since I can't rely on Thanatos to deal with Vaan Rafna, what can I do? Who can I rely on? Do I really have to watch that human grow strong and powerful? Helkan pondered hard. The great devil's promises to help him reconcile with the Soul Master didn't mean shit to him. After all, they did not have a feud with the Soul Master like him. Even if Vaan Rafna didn't pursue the past, Helkan couldn't forgive him for burning his divine consciousness and damaging his divine soul. He originally had hopes of reaching rank 7, but now, they were dashed due to the soul damage. Even if the Soul Master could repair the soul damage, how could he lower himself before his hated foe, let alone butter him up like a slave to earn such an opportunity? He would rather pay a great price to commission a different soul. Even if I have a good relationship with Astarte due to the long trading history between our territories, she won't be able to help much even if she agreed to. After all, even the powerful Abaddon, who comprehended the Azura law, suffered a pathetic end at Vaan Rafna's hand. How could Astarte do any better? Astarte won't do. I need a stronger helper. But there is none in Gehenna. Helkan suddenly had a thoughtful look. The Hades realm was full of spiritual beings, and their soul kings held great interests in the study of souls. A soul master's soul would be a great temptation to them if they could ignore the risks. On the other hand, the Nightmare Realm was ruled by dark witches who looked down on men. I could reach out to either side, but would that be enough? Maybe I need a bigger guarantee to ensure success. Helkan frowned as he searched beyond the neighboring star realms. Moon's core, Gehenna's unknown subterranean region. Inside a fourth rock chamber, Vaan and Solana snuggled together after finishing an intense session of dual practice. The pinkish scent of their lovemaking still permeated the air, mixed concentration of pure mana gathered inside the rock chamber. Evidently, the intimate session had ended only moments ago. Despite Solana's sweat-soaked body and heavy breathing, she did not seem exhausted from the rough play with Vaan. On the contrary, she was brimming with energy and vigor, as shown in her glossy skin and radiant eyes. Congratulations on achieving half-step transcendent, Solana. Since you managed to reach this step, transcendence is just around the corner, Vaan said with a smile. Just as he anticipated, Solana became a half-step transcendent witch after they dual practiced. The half-step transcendent rank was only a transitional phase before entering the transcendent rank. Achieving it implied that one was guaranteed to become transcendent. It was only a matter of time before they did. Unlike the high witch and transcendent witch ranks, the half-step transcendent witch rank involved creating a false 7th mana ring to trick the existing 6 mana rings into behaving as if they existed. However, it wasn't wrong to say that the false 7th mana ring did exist either. After all, the false 7th mana ring was just an empty mana ring that required filling up with mana before it became a true mana ring. Nevertheless, reaching this step was only possible in the pure mana environment of chaos. The false mana ring would only collapse if conducted on Pangaea, which would also endanger the person. Since Solana reached this step, she couldn't return to Pangaea until she completed her transcendence. If you had not assisted me, I wouldn't have been able to reach this step, Sir Vaan. Solana spoke gracefully with sincerity before she suddenly chuckled mischievously. Allow me to express my appreciation. Shortly after saying that, Solana reached down for Vaan's half-sleeping dragon as she planned to clean it up with her tongue and mouth. There's no need for. Oh. Vaan suddenly exclaimed as an unfamiliar yet pleasant sensation struck him. It was as if his soul had just traversed myriads of dimensions and realms before returning when Solana swallowed his half-sleeping dragon whole. It was an indescribable feeling of pleasure, one he had never experienced before. Vaan noticed that his little brother was shrouded in golden white light when Solana sucked him off. Gulp. Solana swallowed Vaan's yang essence before her lips curved into a sly, cheeky smile. Then, she commented, it looks like it is still messy even though I promised to clean it. Allow me to clean it again, Sir Vaan. Ooh. Shortly after, Vaan's little brother was encased in golden white light again, giving him that indescribable, otherworldly experience. It was like he had been fed with erection-boosting drugs and virile-inducing stimulants as his dragon balls swelled to a size he had never seen before. The longer Vaan suppressed it, the greater the pleasure and relief upon release. However, Vaan also realized his awakened dragon had been suppressed to a dangerous level. Its firepower wasn't something Solana should take. As such, Vaan pulled his swelled dragon out of Solana's mouth and aimed it elsewhere. The overloaded essence built up in his dragon balls was fully released in that instant. Bang! An arrow of white essence flew out from his swollen dragon head, tearing through the chamber's rock wall before shooting off into the foreseeable distance. Vaan was stunned, and Solana was dumbfounded when she stared at the penetrated rock wall. That was some dangerous magic you played with, Lady Solana. It would be best if you used it in moderation in the future, Vaan lectured seriously. Alright. I didn't expect something like that was possible. Vaan's lips twitched. Shortly after, his attention shifted to the direction of the concentrated white essence he had fired off. It seemed to have struck Fourth Dream's dream field and tore away her cover as Fourth Dream could be seen staring back at him with a stupefied look through the pocket-size hole in the rock wall. Fourth Dream was unable to process what had just happened. She remained frozen like a statue, with her legs spread and her dominant hand touching the entrance of her flower cave. At the same time, the whole situation was witnessed by both Seventh Dream and Ninth Dream, who were spying in a nearby location after secretly following Fourth Dream with curiosity. Oh dear. That is most unfortunate, Ninth Dream commented with a pitying look. Even if Fourth Dream did not know Sir Vaan could see through the rock walls in her invisibility spell, it no longer mattered at that point since she was exposed to the latter's direct scrutiny through the pocket-sized window. What are you looking at, Sir Vaan? Let me see. Oh. Oh. Solana exclaimed, eyes widening with astonishment as she stared back at Fourth Dream through the hole. She didn't expect to see someone masturbating outside their love chamber, let alone one of the seemingly innocent and untouchable divine fairies of all. Looks were certainly deceiving. Meanwhile, Fourth Dream truly wished she had disappeared from existence in that instant. Although she had experienced the benefits of masturbation, she shouldn't have been tempted into trying it by her fellow sisters. After all, she learned the benefits of masturbation, but at what cost? Her innocence and image went down the gutter. Lady Hecate, please forgive me, for I have sinned. Teared up. She felt helpless and lost in an undesirable situation. Although she knew she should cover herself, she was too shocked to do anything. Previous chapter.